So in this video, I'll explain how I was able to improve my spoken English and speak better than 99% of non-native speakers, even though I didn't take any English courses before. Well, actually, it was very simple. The first thing that I did was I started doing 3D modeling. I know that's totally unrelated, but hear me out. So I was doing 3D modeling as my hobby or as my passion. So 3D modeling is just creating 3D models in a computer digital space, right? For example, you can create 3D models for video games, for animated movies, or for websites, or maybe for something else as well. And so I wanted to create 3D models for video games because I was really passionate about playing different video games like GTA 5, Minecraft, and stuff like that. And so I actually really enjoy doing that. I enjoyed making 3D models. And I wanted to excel in that career. I wanted to become really good at doing that. And so there was one thing that was stopping me from becoming a good 3D modeler. And that was my ability to speak English. Because I remember when I was trying to sell my first 3D model, one of my first 3D models, it was actually a model of a burger. Yeah, that's funny. Like a 3D model of a real burger. So I was trying to sell that model, and then somebody actually bought it from me. And so then when the guy bought that model, it wasn't well polished. It wasn't that good. And there was no textures on model. It turns out I forgot to add textures to the model. So it was basically white without any textures, without any color. And so the guy messaged me, dude, can you please send me the textures? Because I don't see the textures. And I was actually panicking in that moment because I thought, well, what? I forgot to add textures? The guy is trying to say something to me in English. Oh, it's so scary. Freeze. I just basically froze. I was afraid of somebody even messaging me in English because I thought, like I don't speak English. I can't even understand English. So I had to use Google Translate to understand what he was trying to say. And so when I did that, I figured out, you know what? I guess I just need to send him the textures. I sent him the textures without even replying to him. I was afraid that he wouldn't understand what I'm trying to say. And so then he said, good, thank you. And basically after that, I was like, okay, I guess this is exactly what I need to do, which is to improve my spoken English because, well, it's great that I have this passion for 3D modeling, but actually, if I improve my spoken English, I can also understand content in English as well as speak about 3D modeling. So maybe in the future, I can potentially become a teacher and teach other people how to create amazing 3D models. So that's what I did. I tried improving my spoken English. And the first thing I did was actually to just start watching tutorials about 3D modeling in English. That's it. So I was basically watching a lot of different tutorials about how to create amazing 3D models, amazing characters, amazing animations and stuff. I was learning about sculpting, animation, rendering, making beautiful textures, creating beautiful models and stuff like that. And I was watching all of that in English. Like imagine watching 6-hour courses, right? Not English courses, but 6-hour courses about how to create beautiful 3D models in English. Of course, that improved my English even more than those freaking courses about how to learn English, right? So as a result of that, I was able to improve my spoken English as well as 3D modeling skills. First off, I improved my 3D modeling tremendously. I was able to make beautiful models, but then my English wasn't lagging behind because I was able to understand pretty much all content in English. I mean, of course, after you watch 30 or maybe even 100 hours of content in English, you can pretty much understand it without a problem. Of course, I was also watching some entertainment like Mr. Beast or someone else in English, and that has helped me as well. But the main progress happened when I started watching videos about 3D modeling. So when I did that, I improved these two skills, and my passion for 3D modeling allowed me to speak good English. But then I realized that, you know what? I actually don't really like just doing 3D modeling. I actually want to talk about this. And so when I was a child, I remember when I was like 5 years old, I tried to teach my toys how to speak Russian. So this is my native language. And I had literally toys, like small different toys of teddy bears, like basically like human toys, teddy bears, rabbits and stuff like that. And so they were sitting in like a line, just like they would in school. And I gave them pieces of paper. And so on each piece of paper, there was a word. So there were Russian words, and I was teaching them how to pronounce these words. And the thing is, then my mom came into my room when I was 5 years old, and she said, Artem, like you made a mistake here. And I'm like, okay, so I'm actually teaching my toys how to speak Russian, but I'm making mistakes. But it doesn't really matter because I just enjoy the process of teaching my toys how to speak Russian. So I was 5 years old and I was teaching that to my toys. I guess that was like the tendency for me to actually teach about 3D modeling as well. So, and one time I realized that when I was teaching my friend how to create 3D models. So my friend wanted to do the same thing. He was just like inspired by what I was doing. And so he said to me one day, dude, I really want to learn how you do amazing 3D models. Can you teach me that? And I'm like, I mean, yes, of course. As a person who likes to teach people stuff, I'm like, of course, I'm going to teach you how to create beautiful 3D models. So we sat down, we sat down on his computer and or maybe it was on a Zoom call first. So first lesson was on a Zoom call. I was just teaching him how to create like a simple scene with a ship. It was like a 3D model of a ship. And this ship was like, it was swimming in sea. So I helped him create that. And when he did that 3D model, I was like, you know what? I'm actually a very good teacher. I can explain stuff to people and, I'm really good at this. So maybe I can actually create a YouTube channel about 3D modeling. But the thing is, I struggled with my English once again, right? This time, it was no longer about consuming content or understanding English because I could easily understand spoken English. But the problem was that I couldn't speak in English. That was my biggest problem. And so I had this amazing passion. I had a passion of teaching people. I had a passion of doing 3D models, but I just couldn't articulate myself about that topic. So I was making money. I was making money on 3D modeling on freelance, and I also try to make money before on like an international freelance. And I always wanted to do something global. I wanted to do something amazing because I feel like if you do something globally or internationally, you can have bigger impact on the world, and that's amazing, right? Like you actually want to impact the world with your message or maybe with your product or maybe with something else. But the fact that you cannot speak English stops you from doing that. And that stopped me as well. I was afraid to record videos about how to make 3D models in English just because I wasn't able to articulate myself. And so I actually thought, you know what, I can apply the same mindset. When I was watching videos about 3D modeling, I did that in English. And that's how I pretty much improved my spoken English. So if I just want to start speaking about 3D modeling, maybe I can just start making videos. It doesn't matter if they're bad. It doesn't matter if I'm reading the script. It doesn't matter if I use ChatGPT every 2 seconds to translate words. I can still do that and I can still practice speaking about something on camera. And so that's exactly what I did. I mean, it took me like 3 months to record my first video in English. And I remember that video was like about a video game that I was creating in 3D. So I was creating a 3D video game and I was explaining the process of creating that video game. So it was difficult for me. I had to write a gigantic script for that video. So it took me maybe like 5 hours to voice over 3 minutes of content. Yeah, I know that's a lot, right? So the video was like 5 or maybe even 3 minutes long, but it took me 5 hours to just voice over the entire thing because I was afraid of my English. I didn't know if I can actually speak about that. I didn't know if I'm actually qualified to speak English. I was afraid of doing that, but I recorded my first video and then I sent that video to my friends. You know what happened? They actually said, dude, your video is actually pretty good. Continue doing these kinds of videos. Of course, they spoke English on a so-so level, like on my level, I would say, but still they were able to understand what I was trying to say. And so that kept me going. Their feedback kept me going. And then after that, I recorded my second video. It was about car in a desert scene breakdown. And you can watch it on my YouTube channel. It's like my first ever video that I have on my YouTube channel that I've published. And so then I sent that video to some people on a Discord channel that was about 3D modeling and stuff. And so they said to me the same thing. Dude, like, I love your video. Like, it's so easy. Your explanation is so clear. It's so simple to understand your spoken English. Like, it's just amazing. And I'm like, okay, so I actually can articulate myself and speak in English, which is amazing. But before that, before recording these two videos, I spent a lot of time just practicing in front of the camera. I wasn't even recording my face. You know, sometimes I try to record myself, record my face, but I thought, you know what, I don't really like how I look like. I don't really like how I sound like. And so what I did is I had another passion as well. I had a passion for music. I really loved singing music, especially in English for some reason. I remember when I was a child, I was watching Minecraft parodies on famous songs. So I remember I was watching one of these parodies. And so, of course, that parody was in English. And I was kind of inspired by these parodies of these famous songs in English. And I'm like, I really like how English just sounds like, you know, when I was a child. And so I'm like, okay, maybe I can just listen to music in English and try to sing it. Like, why not? Okay, first off, I will understand music and then I will try to sing it. I remember I was singing songs in my native language, but then I'm like, you know what? I really want to do that in English as well. So that's what I did. I started learning lyrics of songs. I try to understand what these lyrics are about. If those lyrics resonated with me, then I sang these songs and I practiced every day. And you know what? It wasn't really about practice. It was just about passion. I was really passionate about doing that. I didn't have a clear schedule. I didn't create like a note, like a habit tracker or something. Yeah, today I'm gonna sing 5 songs or something. I just did it for fun. I just enjoyed doing that. Sometimes I just grabbed my camera and try to speak about something, even though it was kind of difficult for me. I still try to do that. One time, I remember I was reading a book, How to Influence and Influence People, before going to bed, and then when I was trying to fall asleep, I just couldn't fall asleep because I just wanted to speak about that book in English. You know, I don't know why did I do that, but it wasn't really about English, I would say. It was more about music and art, right? Because 3D modeling is basically art. I like to draw. So when I did these two things, but I did them in English, that's when my creativity increased, and that's when my level of spoken English increased as well, exponentially. I combined music, arts, and also teaching as well. And I was able to do all these 3 things in English. And as a result of that, my spoken English improved significantly. I would say that the biggest thing that has helped me was not English courses. It wasn't about hiring a tutor or a teacher or someone else. It wasn't really about reading a bunch of books in English. It was just about being really passionate. I actually wanted to share a quote with you. Your heroes aren't gods. They're just normal people who got good at one thing by sacrificing everything else. And that's the quote by Chris Williamson. So he has a podcast, Modern Wisdom, and it's a really powerful quote. So I would say that your heroes, people who you aspire to be, they are just normal people, but they were really passionate about one thing. And so they found ways how to do this thing every day and how to do it for long hours. And that's what I did as well. I was passionate about teaching, I was passionate about arts, and I was passionate about music as well. I was passionate about singing. And so I was just translated that to a different language, if that makes sense. And that's basically how I was able to improve my spoken English. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know down in the comments what's the biggest thing that you are passionate about. What's like the thing that moves you? What's the thing that makes your heart sing? When you figure out that thing, when you figure out the thing that you're very passionate about, then you can combine that with English and become pretty much fluent. That's the secret. That's the secret to fluent English. It's not courses, it's not tutors, It's not any of that crap. It's just being extremely passionate. So if you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, also comment down below your biggest passion, and I see you in the next video. Bye-bye.